Welcome to the Aesthetics Injector Gang podcast. Having a gang of mentors in this industry has been a blessing that we wanted to share with you. Our core group has been traveling together and comparing notes about life and business for years. Tune in as we delve into topics with others in the industry that you are sure to love and make you laugh.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Valerie, part of the Injector Gang, here with you today. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Aesthetics Injector podcast. I'm super excited today to bring to you guys Mary Beth Hagen, founder of Titan Aesthetics. We're going to have a hard time unpacking everything that we need to in the 30 minutes, but we're going to do our best. She is a rock star at this stuff. So get your favorite beverages and dial in because it is going to be a good one. So I'm going to briefly run down Mary Beth's resume. It's super long. Founder of Titan Aesthetics. She has a long-standing career in aesthetic medicine. She is a plethora of knowledge, just such a good person to have as a resource. Titan Aesthetics in general, her and her faculty really work to kind of set the bar and set the standard with medical aesthetics. So on that note, I'm going to let Mary Beth introduce herself to you guys, and she can delve into her resume because it's super long. But
you're so funny.
She has the Cliff Notes version of everything.
I always say I can do the Cliff Notes version. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's always such a pleasure. I joke that I have my standard response is, I'm not an injector. I'm not a physician. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. But I am someone who has been taught by injectors since I started in aesthetics in 2005. And I am someone who literally has made it my entire career and company ambition to support aesthetic injectors across the United States and, Canada, Australia, and some other places as we've continued to grow. So I started in aesthetics back in 2005 with Medicis and worked for them for 3 years in the early days of Restylane, and then was lucky enough to be able to transition over to Allergan as a manager and had some of the most amazing people that I was able to work with and have them teach me from that standpoint. Had the opportunity to go to the home office and was the Botox Cosmetic Professional Marketing Manager for a while, and then started the national account team for Allergan on the facial side. And so what I learned with looking at, these different companies and these different roles throughout aesthetic medicine was that A, the market was growing incredibly quickly, and B, we as a specialty didn't have the organization, we didn't have the academic training, and we don't have the ability to really manage a lot of what's happening. And so Titan really grew out of a need to advocate for the RNMP, PA and CRNA injectors. It grew out of a desire to help provide good foundational clinical knowledge and training and understanding about this specialty. And honestly, it grew out of me wanting to continue to be able to give back to a specialty that had allowed me to have such a wonderful and amazing career, but without having to leave my house a whole lot. So I still do travel and go to meetings and things like that. But a lot of times when you guys talk to me, I'll be sitting down here in my basement watching it snow up here in Minnesota.
Mary Beth's she's very humble. I think we run into her at almost every meeting that we go to. She's always present. And I love that Titan's present at those meetings because they can sometimes get a little glitzy and glamoury. And I think as new injectors, Titan is what I feel like a safe haven for new injectors and provides such valuable resources, not only for like business track, but clinical tracks as well. And that it's overwhelming. Mary Beth knows me and knows that I've been a CRNA and I've been a nurse for a long time. But you can get really lost in this profession really quickly, especially if you're trying to do it on your own. And I didn't even know about Titan Aesthetics. I didn't know it existed when I started injecting. I just, went to whatever my Google search produced for learn Botox, learn fillers, learn this, learn that. And that doesn't really get you too far. And Titan not only has that clinical standpoint, but there's, I don't even know how many videos and resources you guys have on file, but you can pretty much scroll through there and find any topic that you really need to hone in on. But not only that, Mary Beth and her team are you're a resource. So you also do consulting, correct?
We do. And, I guess if you're okay, I'll take everybody a little bit through kind of the development of Titan.
Absolutely.
Um, I literally set out when I started to create Titan to help support injectors and how to get into the specialty and how to find jobs. And also because I realized that just because you take a weekend training course doesn't mean that you have the right aptitudes and knowledge to be able to be a good professional provider in aesthetics. And so I was like, how do we help the people find if they have the aptitudes and the right characteristics to be good? I had a physician years ago, and he looked at me and he said, Mary Beth, I hire all these PAs and I train them in dermatology and I train them in aesthetics, and I do the same for all of them. And some of them get it and some of them just never do. So help me figure out which ones are going to get it before we put all this time and energy into training them. And it was such a great question, Val, because you think about it, anybody who's been a trainer out there will tell you there are people they watch and they just get it. And there are others that I don't care how much training you give them, they just don't. And so what I tried to figure out right at the beginning was, what are those natural aptitudes that the best injectors have? And, I was very lucky up here in Minnesota. I had some of the best, Don Segrillo, Connie Brennan, Claire Fisher, people that have been injecting really since the start of this specialty in the United States. And sorry, Toby and Tugger are saying hi. So I apologize if they're joining the back of the call.
You don't like dogs, get off the podcast.
They like to say hi every now and then. But what we did was I literally created a screening. And it's not so much, do you have the aptitudes or not? It really is, who are you? How do you see things? How do you think about things? What are work environments where you perform well? What do you understand about this specialty? And what are your innate characteristics that make you happy? And so we do the screening over the phone. It's an hour. There are 4 parts to it. We do it for all the candidates that we place, but we do it as an a la carte offering for any employers that are looking, say they find somebody on their own and they want to bring that person into their practice and train them or hire them. You want to make sure they're going to be a sync with your brand, with your culture, with your aptitudes, with your team. And this is a pretty inexpensive way to help a practice do that. They're only $500 per screening. But it's fun when I do the screening because almost every single candidate that I screen tells me, oh my God, this is like the best therapy session I've ever had. And I just learned so much about myself. And that's it. As an aesthetic injector, so much of what you guys do is acting a little bit as a therapist for your patients and meeting their needs and helping match what you're going to do with what they're looking for. So I think that's a lot of what I try to do with Titan, is be kind of that aesthetic whisperer for a lot of the aesthetic injectors and the practices to help make that perfect match. So I always joke with the placement side, I'm not a headhunter. I'm not even a very good recruiter. I'm kind of a matchmaker. And I want people to work together well. When I place somebody, I don't do it for the placement fee, though that does help pay the bills, but I do it because I want people to work together who really enjoy working together and how they work together and the type of environment they're working in. And if you don't start with that, from people in your life, if you don't start with that foundation, it's not going to get any better. So we just naturally started with doing placement, with doing screenings, and then COVID hit. And then people started calling and saying, oh my gosh, I just went to this weekend training class and I'm certified in Botox and fillers and I've sent my resume to every place in town and nobody will hire me. And I'm like, of course they won't hire you. You've got one weekend of observing. You don't know what you're doing. So I'm very lucky. I have a clinical director, Kevin Harrington, that maybe many of you know. Kevin has been, yes, lots of love to Kevin. Kevin has been a clinical trainer for Allergan and for Galderma. He was one of the original faculty members for Chris Surek's Academy for Injection Anatomy Cadaver course. He is probably one of the best teachers I've ever heard in my entire life. And he has such a gift for helping people understand the why behind what they're doing as an aesthetic provider and developing those critical thinking skills. So kind of right around COVID, we all say AC and BC, right? Before COVID and after COVID. But Kevin helped me create the development program for becoming an aesthetic injector. And it's called the Titan Aesthetic Injector Development Program. It is a 2-part course. Course number 1 is a book I wrote called Preparing to be an Aesthetic Injector and the Complete Face Cadaver app. Because my theory is you have to understand first, what is the job? What is this career you're looking to have? What is the history of the specialty? What do you need to do on your own before somebody's going to hire you? And you have to understand this is cash medicine. So I put all of this in a book to really give people a good foundation on what this career is that they think they want to get into. Because, I mean, let's be honest, it is not staying in a room and just injecting Botox from 9 to 5 and then going home and saying goodbye. And it is not, getting tons of free product and standing in a room and taking selfies and being Insta famous. It is being the best educator. It is being the best salesperson. It is being the best guidance counselor and, mental health counselor. It is being someone who has amazing hands, who is unbelievably smart because this specialty changes and grows and has new products and new treatments all the time. And it is someone who also has to be really a great team player because everybody who's in aesthetics works in a continuum of care. So I'm giving you a whole lot of, there's so much that we do, and I know. So yeah, so screening, we do training, we do injector placement, we do our membership program. And I guess I'll stop and let you kind of ask if there are questions.
The problem is I could sit here and listen to you all day. And I've been doing this now for, I don't know, right at like 5 years. It's weird because like COVID was a down year for me, but a big turning point for me. And then I fell into the gang and like the gang kind of formulated and not a lot of people have that. And that really helped me grow. But it's so hard because there's so much to unpack when you want to get into aesthetic medicine. It's really easy to get lost. And it's also very easy to get lost. And I know, Sarah, in DC and I did a whole podcast on just Instagram and like not falling into that trap of thinking like, oh, this is what it's like to be an injector. Like I'm going to get my Gucci bag and I'm going to get in my Porsche and I'm going to drive to work and I'm going to make $20,000, just in a day and there's no cost and blah, blah, blah. Like it's not like that. It's very hard and it's hard to be very good at your craft if you're just trying to get into it for a lifestyle, I guess maybe is the best way to describe it is like, I want this injector lifestyle. I want to be like this person and have this, my own office and I want to do this and I want to do that. Cause I think everybody falls into their own situation. Like I wanted to be by myself. I wanted to make independent decisions. I wanted my own office. That's what I knew I always wanted. But I struggled for years working at offices because I don't think that placement was ever there. Had I been maybe better placed, I may have stayed in the office and grown and kind of worked like Jessica McCary, who's local in St. Pete. Like she grew into a partnership with her practice and that's where she wanted to go. She knew that. And I think when I started, I was just kind of lost in the whole mix of like, I knew what I wanted. I didn't really know how to get there. And it's taken, 5 years and I'm still, it doesn't pay all the bills right now, like it's keeping itself afloat, but I'll digress into that. But the important thing is, the faculty that you have on board, I've trained with Kevin. I don't even know how the guy keeps all of his thoughts contained in his brain because he's super smart. He's a great injector. And Kevin was probably the first person, maybe first or second person I trained with that didn't make me feel bad about doing things wrong. Or the way I held my syringe was different from my trainer one time. And she like nipped at me. Really made me feel bad about myself. So I think when you find the safe haven, like Titan, like I had said before, you really shelter in place in that safe haven and be like, okay, this is my roadmap of how I'm going to get to X, Y, and Z. Ashley always says, know your why, know your why. Why are you opening your own practice? Where is your goal? Where do you want to be at in 5 years? And every other facet of medicine contains that. When I was in the ICU, the next step was I really wanted to do anesthesia. But there was a path. I knew I had to apply. I needed to take my GREs. I needed to do X, Y, Z. And at the end, I would have a degree and a certificate and be board certified. And that just doesn't happen
we don't have that in aesthetics. Yeah.
So I think that's why you end up with, I think our future is looking very rocky right now. And we can kind of get into your thoughts on that.
I don't know if I would say it's rocky, but I will say it definitely could go two ways. I think there are a lot of people that have questions about what's going to happen as more private equity money comes into the aesthetic market. Personally, I think we're going to kind of see it go kind of split. So you're going to see some of the bigger organizations that are going to have multi-state, multi-location practices, and they're going to be a place where a lot of people come into the specialty and they learn on-label, very basic procedures. And then I think you're going to see people continue to grow and maybe, leave that beginning foundational environment and look to be in practices where there perhaps is more of a continuum of care, working with the esthetician and the laser tech and the physician and the injector, and that there is more of that build. I mean, I think what we've got to constantly realize is when we talk about industry, that is the Allergan, the Galderma, the Cutera, the BTL, the skincare companies, even the AmSpa, the private equities. Those are the industry side of things. You all who practice medicine, you practice in the specialty of aesthetic medicine, and you aren't in an industry. You are in a medical specialty. And I think it's very important as we continue to go forward to keep that line very clear and to continue to have good medical specialty meetings. I mean, it's fine that there are some of these meetings that are more business focused or more industry focused, but what I have found, especially with doing the Titan screening through the years, is that almost every person who's an injector does it for 3 reasons. They do it because they want to be of value to the patient they're treating. With their care, with what they do with the treatment, they want to be of value with how they educate that person and how they provide information and potential opportunities to that patient to help them achieve their results. They want to be good at it, and they want to do it in a team because, sometimes people, just because you work alone in office doesn't mean you don't want to be in a team. You've got your injector gang. You always are going to have these amazing colleagues that you're going to share with and you're going to learn from. It's a very collegial environment. And the third thing is they usually are pretty driven to continue to learn and grow and have success. And if you don't have those 3 qualities, you're probably not going to be super successful in aesthetics, whether you're by yourself in a practice or whether you're in a group practice. But, what we've tried to do with Titan is, get the right people into the specialty, help them with the right training. We have a network of clinical training practices. And I want everybody to know, when you go to the Titan website and you look at who do we have in the business resources or who do we have on the training site, they don't pay me to be listed there. They are all organizations that I know do a good job, that are very there are a lot of people that have come into this specialty or into the industry side of aesthetics because they want to make a lot of money. And all of the people that you're going to find on the Titan website are all people that I have known for years and I trust and I feel very comfortable recommending to other people. So I want people to know that. And I constantly review that. When you look at the video library, and you were very kind, Val, to talk about that, Titan has a clinical membership and a business membership. It's only $300 for all 12 months, and you get not only 2 to 3 live webinars a month, but you get all of the recorded content that we've done for the last 3 years. People were very kind during COVID and volunteered their time to just speak on a variety of opportunities, and we recorded a bunch of them, and then we kept recording them and kept doing them. And so you're right. We have over, I think it's 117 or 120 some odd videos. So it's kind of divided into 3 separate categories. They're all meant to be good peer learning opportunities. So we have what I call the Netflix for injectors. So if you're a new injector, one of the best things that you can do once you learn the why and once you learn the products, and as you're basically just trying to learn to inject, is to watch people who are really good at what they do. And Tara Del Kai and Rhonda Kennelly and Kevin Harrington have provided a suite of new injector videos that are all like 5-10 minutes long. And you can rent these videos for $10 for 24 hours and watch them over and over again. And the money goes back to Kevin and to Rhonda and to Tara. So I'm not making money on that. But it's such a great way to be able to just pick a bunch of different topics and watch them. And there's about 30 of those. Then we have a second category that's called injector or expert created resources. And we're going to be building that up over this next year. So right now we have Dana Jacoby talking about, how do you value your aesthetic practice? I did a talk on, so you think you want to open your med spa. Here's why it's not that easy. Because I want people to know it's hard. It is really, really, really hard. And it
right now.
Yeah. So I tell everybody, call me first before you do it. And I'll tell you, all the things, if you want to do it, I'll help you figure out how to do it. But I really, really believe people ought to work with other people and not start on their own right as they start as an injector.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a bunch of courses that you can go in there and rent. Sinahan Bayrak is going to do an amazing cadaver course for learners and legacies this spring and this fall. And we're going to record some of that. So we'll have an introduction to facial anatomy on that injector created resource area. Then the third section is basically our video library. And I think we have 102 different business and clinical webinars that are on the archive. So if you are a member of either the program or the full support program gives you access to all the content, that's only $300 or $500 a year. If you want to just watch a couple and see if it's something you think is worth it, you can rent them individually for $40. But go into that video library, scroll through, look at all the content, look at all the speakers. I mean, I'm very lucky to have kind of a who's who of all of the amazing injectors in the specialty and, a lot of the OGs, the original gang of injectors.
I love it. But I just want to circle back to the price point because and even Brandon and I were talking about learners and legacies and we've looked at we've been lucky that we could, preview before anybody else could see the agenda. So learners and legacies happened last year as well, Chicago, right?
In June.
Yeah.
Our first one. I didn't know what we were doing. We were very blessed. It was very successful.
I was so upset I couldn't go because of just calendar, life and restrictions. But as soon as we knew it was happening in North Carolina, we were like, oh, Brandon reached out and he's like, Val, are we going to this? And I'm like, of course we are.
I know you guys are two of the first to register. So
yeah, I had it ready because he told me how the website was working. And I every day I was checking and I was like, oh, is it time to register? Oh, is it time to register? And so you look at it's so as when you first get into this field, you have somebody that's going to charge you $5,000 for a course, $10,000 for a weekend, $3,000 here, $2,000 there. And when you don't have the money, that's a lot of money, right? And so I can't impress upon any of our listeners or anybody getting into this, the value for what you're getting in your education. Because it's not cheap and people are starting programs and you don't know what you're going to get out of that, 45-minute or weekend kind of course. For $500, if you max out on everything, you have a year. If you don't like it, you wasted $500 at the end of the day. It wasn't $1,500, $2,000, $20,000. And when you talk to Ashley and Brandy, that's upwards of what we spend a year on education. I think, I finally decided to just invest and I'm going to Swift's course next year in Miami. And it was almost $6,000. And that still to me is a lot of money. So I think the value for what Titan offers, Mary Beth is not rich. She's not getting rich off of this. Let's say that it's actually putting back into the community what needs to happen. And all of the faculty are invested in making it better, not invested in making money, let's say. You have to make money off of it, obviously, to pay your bills. But I
do want to point, everybody who speaks for one of the Titan Talks, they all donate their time. And I give them a complimentary membership to thank them for doing it. But it is one of those things that I really they are all so good about wanting to give back and share what they know. And that's what makes, I think, this Titan membership such a special thing. There are a lot of amazing Patreon accounts of people who share their knowledge, but it's one perspective. And what I love about the Titan membership is you've got, about 50, 60 odd people. Sheila Anderson's done several. We've got Julie Bass Kaplan. We've got Kevin. We've got Rand Rusher. We've got Leslie. I don't think Leslie's done one yet. We've got, oh my God, I always blank out when I'm trying to go through Sonia Ellis. And it's amazing the talks that we have on there. But what's so amazing is so many of those people also donated their time to be faculty for Learners and Legacies. And if it's okay, you were so kind to talk about that meeting.
I want to talk about Learners and Legacies because it's coming in 2 locations this year. So it opens up
Charlotte in the spring and Long Beach next fall.
Mm-hmm.
And Val, just so everybody knows, this is a little bit of a different meeting. It is specifically geared the clinical side for injectors with, usually about 3 years of experience or less. I mean, we were at a couple meetings a couple of years ago and had some people say, I can't go back to that meeting. I didn't know where to go. I don't know anybody. I didn't have the right clothes, the right bags, the right shoes. I was just super intimidated as a new injector. And, and it made me sad because this should be a specialty where we have medical meetings where, the experienced people can be mentors for the new injectors and help, grab their hand and pull them up. And, I always love going to ISPAN, and the International Society for Plastic and Aesthetic Nurses does a great job with the RNs and the NPs. But I always said, I wish we need one big organization that includes, the PAs and the CRNAs and be able to pull, a broader bit. And so I guess that's a little bit of what we try to do with Titan and then with Learners and Legacies. So when you go to the website, www.learnersandlegacies.com, you'll see we have 2 tracks this year. The first is a business track that is going to be run by Jamie York and Chad Truby, and really is going to focus on the business aspects of running an aesthetic practice. We had a lot of people who came this summer and the clinical side, and now they're coming back next year to do the business track. And then we have a lot of places where we've had practices that they brought all of the injectors in their practice to come so that they could all learn and plan together and really create good teamwork. We limit the meeting to 100 attendees in each track, and it's only $1,000, and that includes, we start with lunch on Friday, we go all the way through Friday night, we go all the way through Saturday, and then we end at noon on Sunday. So lunch, dinner, breakfast, all included, in addition to all the learning for that $1,000. There's no CME. Partially because sometimes when you do CME, you miss some of the injector mentoring experience. And I want to make sure that we keep that. We do have 20 hours of CME for Titan's Teaching Your Brain to Inject Course 2 in the Titan Development Program if you need CME, but the meeting doesn't offer that at this point. But what we really have decided is that we really want it to be where those people who started the specialty 20, 25 years ago can really pass it along and pay it forward with the knowledge. So if you look at the Titan, at the Learners and Legacies logo, it's one face looking back and one face looking forward. And that really is to epitomize our tagline of learning from the past to create the future in aesthetic medicine. And so I really hope everybody thinks about enrolling. It's going to be in Charlotte at the last weekend in April, or in Long Beach the first weekend in October.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point to make. And it was made to me in my profession when I first started training in anesthesia. And I was I had spent 6 years in the ICU, and you come off very much in the top of your game. And I had I went to school at a different time, but I had a CRNA that was very, not rude, not mean, just very direct and forward with me. And she pulled me aside later in the day and said, listen, you did a good job today, but I want you to understand why I'm hard on you and why I want better for you is because my profession is only as strong as the people coming up behind me. And that has always resonated with me because, people who are gatekeepers or, I don't even know if that's what the kids call it. Whenever they won't share, knowledge is only powerful when it's shared. And when people want to hoard their knowledge and don't want to share it because they're afraid you might figure out how to flip a lip better than them, or you might do temples better than them, or something, ridiculous like that, that doesn't help us grow as a profession. And I think the great thing about Titan, like even the gang, like Ashley and Brandy are doing trainings. I'm not at a point where I can train or want to do training. I can do safety talks all day and I can tell you how to protect yourself. But, and I just think it's just so important that we have Titan, we have Learners and Legacies, kind of paving the pathway for people coming into this, because there's a lot of people flooding the market. I know we're coming up on time, but I kind of want to get your perspective on, how you feel. Like, if people are thinking about making that transition, like where's a good place for them to start?
Obviously, I'm going to say Titan. I started everything with Titan because there was really no great resource to help people who are looking at coming into the
Yeah.
specialty. So that is the entire. I mean, Titan stands for Top Injectors Treating in Aesthetics Now, and I really have everything that we have built from. Do you want to come into the specialty? Do you want to grow and develop within the specialty? And do you want to be, retained and stay within the specialty? We just launched a new performance development management program last week at iSpan. And because I've seen so many injectors, they get into this, they love it, they start to grow, but they don't get feedback from their practices. And so then they go, oh, well, if you don't appreciate me here, I'm going to leave and go do my own thing. And so I do believe in the power of the practice and the group and the collegiality that you can have. And so that's why we launched this performance management process so that we can help practices do a better job of supporting career development and career planning and doing performance management. I mean, you can make more money easily in this profession, but you have to bring in more revenue to do it. And you have to understand it's just basic aesthetic math. It's not your practice owner being greedy. It's just everything that you see in the clinic has to be paid for with the products that are sold and the services that are done. And so when you understand that basic math, right?
Yeah.
It's just basic math. It makes it a lot easier. And so that's what we're just trying to do is bring down some of the barriers, increase that collegiality, really help people understand. In every other profession out there, you go to meetings and everybody learns from each other. We need to have that same type of camaraderie and internal mentorship and growth and support within aesthetics. And I think we do 99% of the time. I think sometimes it's just the weird stuff tends to make more news and rather than how good everything is. So if you're a new injector, look into the Titan resources, but there's also an entire footer at the bottom of the website that has a whole bunch of other resources that we want to refer out and share those as well. You look at this podcast, you're already investing in yourself if you're listening to this because the Injector Gang does such a great job of being team-oriented and really sharing resources. So, every time you get something, think about what you learned and look at paying it forward. Look at community over competition where you inject. Go and, if you find somebody and they feel like they're more competitive, that's not your person, and that's okay. Just go ask the next one.
Yeah. And I think, the other thing with Titan and with Learners and Legacies is it opens you up to more connections, right? And that's kind of hard to find if you're on your own or you're in, even if you're in a small town somewhere and maybe you're coming into a practice and they don't really do aesthetic medicine in that community, or like it's just slowly growing. You don't have a lot of resources. You don't know people and you don't know who to call when you have a complication. And I'm pretty sure, you're going to come across the paths of people that are going to say, call me if you have a question. I met a girl at a conference and, I have imposter syndrome. So I'm always like, I don't really belong here either.
Everybody in this industry does, I swear, in this specialty. Yeah.
And she's like, she's a GINP and, just really doesn't have anyone to bounce things off of. We're both alone at this conference and I'm not an outgoing person normally, but I saw her sitting there. We started, talking, connecting. And I want to say 4 or 6 months later, she reached out to me on Instagram and said, hey, you probably don't remember me, but I had some questions about weight loss and how you run your weight loss program. And I was like, girl, of course I remember you. I'm like, you can always reach out to me. If you have any questions, if I can't find the answer for you, I will find somebody who can find the answer for you. But I think with Titan and Learners and Legacies, especially the meetings when they're small and intimate like that, you can meet people that you can call and bounce ideas off of, share scholarly articles, come up with different protocols. How do you do this? I do that. So I think it's just, again, another great way to keep our community growing and moving forward.
Well, thank you for having us and thank you for sharing.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. They're launching their new website. They are they're growing, but as Mary Beth will tell you, growing always comes with some growing pains. But just real quick, tell everybody how they can find you on Instagram, Titan, how they can register for Learners and Legacies when that's ready. Give us all.
So, TitanAesthetic.com. I want to put a plug in for the amazing trainers that we have that support our new injector development program. Dawn Segurlo, Tracy Hada, Rhonda Foley, and Sheila Anderson. They are all 15 to 20 plus years of experience in the specialty and are amazing mentors and support for people that go through the Titan development. I want to put in a plug to go onto the clinical hands-on training site page on the Titan Training Network section of the website, because everybody who is there runs a training program that is an amazing hands-on training program and is a great place to start when you're ready to do your hands-on training. I want to thank Kevin Harrington for building so much amazing clinical work that he has done with Titan. And I want to thank Jamie York, who's put together the business aspect for the business track at Learners and Legacies. So Learners and Legacies is learnersandlegacies.com. The Instagram, oh my God, it's at Titan_aesthetic_recruiting. And then Learners and Legacies is at learners.and.legacies. I don't know why we didn't put underscore in both of them, but anyway. And I have to give a huge shout out to Lauren Mitrich, who is the most amazing person who started all the Instagram stuff for me, and Tessa Straka, who now does it all for me. And I always say I am a word person living in a picture world. If you guys need me to write any content for you, I am more than happy to do that, but I am not the picture girl. So my great appreciation for all the picture people who keep me going in this world. And
Yeah.
thanks to you, Val.
I always say I'm like a geriatric millennial. Like I get it, but I don't get it. And I think I'm going to lose on like the chat GTP, like where my separation in this world is going to be like chat GTP and like AI stuff. Cause like I get it, but I'm not immersed in it. But yeah, we're so happy to have you guys as part of the gang and as part of this podcast. I cannot stress to you guys enough. Go to her website, look at things, get involved. It's only beneficial for you. It's only going to help you at the end of the day.
And you can sign up on the website. I won't spam you, I promise, because I'm too busy to send out more than like 6 things a year. So
I feel very good about not. I always get the reminders for the Titan Talks, but I don't get like phishing emails and stuff like that. You're just going to get.
I have never once, and I never will sell the Titan database to anybody. So.
Yeah, which is nice. They're not trying to upsell you like at every turn. A lot of places will try to, oh, hey, by the way, now you need this one, and now you need this one, and now you need this one. It's simply just for you guys. So you know where to find me. I am down here in St. Pete at Spindrift Aesthetics. You can always email me, spindriftbeauty@gmail.com. You can always reach out to any one of the gang members for advice, questions, concerns. We are the Aesthetics Injector Gang. Podcast is on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Enough plugs about that. Stay warm up there, Mary Beth. It's just not getting nice and cool down here in Florida. So, you know.
You guys enjoy it. Everybody have a wonderful holiday season. Stay busy, stay safe, and we'll see you in the new year, hopefully at Learners and Legacies.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Follow us on Instagram at The Aesthetics Injector Gang.